Hi, this is Jim Lyon, the host of the All That to Say podcast. Before you dive in today, be sure and subscribe to our YouTube channel so that you can catch all of our fearless conversations. People from both sides of the aisle, from vastly different perspectives and positions, rallying around this First Step Act. I'm asking you two questions now, John. First, how would you get involved? How did you get there in terms of that particular process? And two, what does the First Step Act do? Why does it matter so much?
Sure. So I'll take the second one first. So the First Step Act is by far the most consequential piece of criminal justice legislation in 30 years. So it does a number of different things. You outlined some of them, but it right sizes certain sentences. It allows people to serve certain parts of the end of their sentence on home confinement, as opposed to just sitting in the prison the whole time. It allows people to get to that point to earn additional pre-release custody credits, right? And also does things like it greatly expanded, thanks to Senator Brian Schatz's leadership, Democrat at Hawaii, who was a big push to put this in the First Step Act, expand compassionate release, right? So if someone is sick or has a family member that's sick in prison and they're no longer a public safety threat, that they could come out early on very strict conditions, don't get me wrong, very strict conditions. So that way they could either die at home, convalesce so they don't have to die at all, take care of people who might be dying at home. So things as sort of mundane as making sure the Bureau of Prisons gets someone an identification before they leave. We had to get that written in. So, and what it does is it prevented things like stacking, right? So stacking was the normal thing where if you had a single indictment, say you had 2 drug charges and a gun, and you were found guilty, they'd run all 3 sentences consecutive. So you'd find first offenders getting 50, 60, 70 years constructive life. So the First Step Act addressed all of these things in one way, shape, or form. So how I got there, to make the story even odder, I myself come, like I said, from New Jersey. A former governor of New Jersey, Jim McGreevey, big Democrat, very, very interested in prisoner reentry, is what it was termed at back then, right? To justice and for justice involved people. Governor McGreevey and I have a chance meeting. I didn't know a single politician. Candidly, I make the joke, I didn't know a single politician until I was a felon. So I guess in New Jersey, that's probably common, but, in other more civilized places in the world, it isn't. But, I had the opportunity, God put me in a position to meet Governor McGreevey, who had a tremendous Rolodex, obviously, and a tremendous vision that he wanted to see reentry programs built around New Jersey. Jim and I, Governor McGreevey and I, got together and put together a nonprofit where he was our chairman. He's now the chairman and CEO. Now that I've left, I was the executive director. And we built a very, very big program in New Jersey, thanks to Governor McGreevey's leadership. Every living governor was on the board of directors of the New Jersey Reentry Corporation, which was a nonprofit. And that work in workforce development, right? Because my job was getting jobs. I used to joke with Governor McGreevey because Governor McGreevey obviously, takes a very spiritual route in this. And, we'd be in with businesses and he'd be going on about the spiritual side of it. And I used to say, hey, Gov, like, a little less Jesus, a little more jobs here, right? We got to get people to work, right? Even though obviously I understand the two are deeply intertwined. But the workforce development work got me noticed by folks in Washington, D.C., Koch Industries, actually. And, the Koch Industries, has been at the forefront of criminal justice reform and second chance hiring for a long, long, long time. And candidly, when people around the country saw Koch Industries doing second chance hiring, getting behind it, said, well, they do it, why can't we? So there was momentum started by Koch. And so Koch asked me if I would come to DC to help run something called the Safe Streets and Second Chances Project. And what that was a project housed at the Texas Public Policy Foundation's Right on Crime Center. Right on Crime is and TPPF, one of the preeminent conservative think tanks in the country. So it was a surprise to me when I was asked to meet with them, because I was not one of the preeminent conservatives in the country, right?
Right.
Here I am, like right down the middle of the road kind of guy. But very, very big on public safety, very big on personal responsibility. Obviously, that's part of my journey. Very big on jobs and prosperity and removing barriers to prosperity. So we speak the same language. So this was a project with Right on Crime and Florida State University, our research partner. And what we did was, we changed laws all over the country. First Step Act was just one of them. We did laws in Mississippi and other places. But it was Safe Street Second Chances was the largest randomized controlled trial in a prison of its time to test something that Florida State was developing called a 5-key model of reentry, which is, we could have a whole show about that. But anyway, my first day at Right on Crime, actually, it wasn't even my first day. My first day was December 17th. So it was 2 weeks before my first day. I was asked to come to a meeting at the White House. So I took a day off from Governor McGreevey and said, hey, the new job needs me to go to the White House. So now I had met President Obama. In fact, President Obama toured our New Jersey Reentry Corporation partner program with us back in 2015. So I'm probably the only guy with a picture of President Obama and many pictures of President Trump anywhere. But my first day in that room were leading criminal justice advocates and Jared Kushner. From there, we started talking about what at that point was something called the Corrections Act that Senator John Cornyn from Texas had proposed. And all that was a prison reform bill. And it was a very good prison reform bill. But, the White House wanted to go farther, and then we helped them go farther, right? We generated big conservative support, big Democrat support, help overcome certain barriers along the way. Then I find myself, 2 hours before the government shut down in 2018. I had been in a number of meetings at the White House and other places around the country with President Trump and his administration, as well as governors across the country, building support for because governors were starting to adopt state analogs to what would become the First Step Act. And then from there, they signed it into law. I had the chance to speak to the president. And we also did second chance hiring events where the president brought together folks like Kim Kardashian. I was on stage with Kim Kardashian, Marcus Bullock, who was a famous guy, started Flick Shop, and some other advocates. And there I was speaking about second chance hiring with the president, both in the Oval Office and on stage.